But Bitcoin's been having quite a wild ride in 2018, and the digital currency began the year on a high note. And last year, Bitcoin prices nearly reached $20,000 in December 2017 as investors poured into cryptocurrencies. And part of the reason behind the volatility is the clampdown that Japan had on crypto trading places. But to talk to us about what's happening in the space of Bitcoin and especially its performance in recent weeks is Richard de Sousa, who is a partner at AltCoin Trader. Richard, thank you so much for your time. So talk to me about this wild ride that Bitcoin's been having, especially this year.
Certainly. Thanks very much for having me on the show. Bitcoin being a new crypto, being new in the space of finances, we found that this volatility, we need to put it into perspective. We need to actually understand what is happening. It is not as volatile as people think. Yes, it certainly did hit the heights, almost hit 20,000 in November and December last year. But to try and get things into perspective, last year, this time, Bitcoin was only $2,400 odd, and today it's $6,400, which is still a 250% increase on the price it was last year on this day.
All right. What have you seen in terms of volume and trading patterns on AltCoin Trader?
Well, certainly, as soon as Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general get negative media, we have seen volumes decrease dramatically. I mean, right now, volumes are at a low. We always see this. Historically, around the middle of the year, the June-July period, we do see this. We've seen these ups and downs with Bitcoin many, many times. It's not the first time. I think this is the fourth time in the history of Bitcoin that we've had these extreme rallies, with it dropping 60 to 70% of its previous all-time high.
Right. We were talking about placing what's happening with Bitcoin in context. I mean, what are some of the obstacles that you've seen that have prevented Bitcoin from rising high? I mean, the one that I think of is the Securities Exchange Commission planning to regulate the initial coin offering markets. What other obstacles stand in that way of that Bitcoin rise?
Well, there certainly are a lot of obstacles. Certainly the fact that because it's an unregulated financial asset, people are scared of it, and there is a lot of risk with Bitcoin. Let's make no mistake about that. But I think that one of the biggest factors that stops Bitcoin from rising is the public hype and the media hype that causes Bitcoin to have these wild swings. In other words, it gets extreme negative press, and then it takes normally 400 to 500 days, just a year and a bit, to recover from this negative press. Then it gets this wild hype that results in these bubbles, and then the cycle repeats itself. So those are some of the things, because if we think about it year on year, it's still a good investment. But it has, we often say the press writes the obituaries of Bitcoin and cryptos all the time.
Yeah. Where do you see the price of Bitcoin going for the year?
Well, that is always a difficult question to answer, but I would like to put my thoughts forward on that. What we've typically seen is that from the time of a bubble, going back to 2013, when Bitcoin dropped from $1,250, it dropped all the way to $200. That was the previous cycle. We saw a time period of 411 days before Bitcoin actually got its all-time high again. So I think that in a time like this, we are probably looking at 18 months from December last year before Bitcoin will reach those prices again. But to answer your question and to stop avoiding it, I think that we can expect to see Bitcoin in the $8,000 to $10,000 mark by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Which will mean that it will be down from last year. But depending on when you bought it, still a very, very good return.
All right. Just one more question. What is the appetite on the other cryptocurrencies outside of Bitcoin?
Well, we have seen a huge appetite on all the other cryptocurrencies. But something to bear in mind that most of the cryptocurrencies are all still following Bitcoin. So if you look at the charts and the graphs, When Bitcoin's up, the other cryptos are up. When Bitcoin's down, the other cryptos are down. I think there's a lot of market speculation and people thinking which is going to be the new coin. And I think that in itself fuels a huge appetite for the other cryptos. But at the end of the day, they are all following Bitcoin. Bitcoin still has 43% dominance in the crypto space. So it's going to be some time before we actually see any other coin breaking out and making a name for itself.
All right, Richard, thanks so much for your time. That's Richard de Sousa, a partner at AltCoin Trader.